After roles loosen, after the need to prove softens, another quiet structure begins to dissolve. Expectation, not hope, not care. Expectation as a background demand placed on life. The subtle belief that things should unfold a certain way, that people should respond how we imagine, that effort should lead to outcomes, that love should look like something specific. Expectation is rarely conscious. It lives underneath our reactions. Disappointment, resentment, confusion. Often, those feelings aren't caused by what happened, but by what didn't. Living without expectation doesn't happen because you decide to stop wanting things. It happens because you begin to notice how much tension expectation creates. I noticed this shift when frustration stopped feeling productive, when irritation didn't motivate action but simply revealed resistance. I realized I wasn't responding to life anymore. I was negotiating with it, waiting for it to meet conditions it never agreed to. Expectation is how we try to secure ourselves. If this works out, I'll be okay. If they show up, I'll feel safe. If this continues, it means something. Expectation makes life feel manageable, but it also makes life brittle, because reality rarely consults our preferences. And when expectation is strong, even neutral moments feel disappointing. Living without expectation doesn't mean you stop caring how things go. It means you stop placing conditions on your presence. You're here whether things align or not. That sounds subtle, but it's a profound change. Before, presence was transactional. I'll stay engaged if this feels right. I'll relax if this makes sense. I'll commit if this leads somewhere. Now, presence becomes unconditional. You're here even when things are unclear, even when outcomes are uncertain, even when nothing resolves. This doesn't make you passive. It makes you resilient. Expectation is exhausting. It requires constant monitoring. Is this meeting my hopes? Is this turning into what I thought? Am I getting what I expected? When expectation fades, that monitoring stops. You're no longer checking life against a mental template. You're meeting it as it arrives. This is especially noticeable in relationships. Expectation is often mistaken for love. We expect people to understand us, to respond consistently, to grow alongside us, to meet us where we are. None of those desires are wrong, but when they harden into expectation, they create pressure. Pressure on others, pressure on ourselves. Living without expectation allows love to become responsive instead of conditional. You don't withdraw when someone doesn't meet your hopes. You respond to who they actually are. Sometimes that response is closeness. Sometimes it's distance. But it's grounded in reality, not in disappointment. This stage often brings a surprising amount of peace. Not because everything feels good, but because nothing feels like a personal failure. When expectation drops, you stop interpreting outcomes as verdicts. Things happen. You feel them. You respond. You don't add a layer of meaning about what it says about you, your path, or your worth. This is where disappointment changes character. Disappointment still arises, but it doesn't linger. It doesn't harden into resentment. It moves through because it's not being fed by expectation. Expectation often traps emotion by insisting it shouldn't exist. I shouldn't feel this way. This wasn't supposed to happen. Without expectation, emotion is allowed to be what it is. An allowed emotion moves. Living without expectation also changes how you experience joy. Joy becomes lighter, less fragile. You enjoy things without clinging to them. You don't ask joy to promise permanence. You let it be temporary. And because of that, you're not afraid to feel it fully. Expectation often dampens joy by asking it to last. Without that demand, joy is freer, comes and goes, and you let it. This stage can feel vulnerable. Expectation was a shield. It made disappointment predictable. Without it, you're more open, more exposed to surprise. But that exposure isn't dangerous. It's honest. Life is surprising. Expectation was never protecting you from that. It was just dulling your responsiveness. Living without expectation also affects how you relate to yourself. Before, you expected yourself to improve, to heal, to become more integrated. Those expectations can turn growth into pressure. Now, growth becomes organic. You don't demand change. You notice it when it happens. You don't judge yourself for not being further along. There is no along. You're here, responding. This removes a great deal of self-criticism. Not because you forgive yourself, but because there's nothing to accuse. Expectation was the judge. Without it, the courtroom empties. Living without expectation doesn't mean you don't plan or prepare. You still make arrangements. You still consider possibilities. But planning isn't fused with emotional security. If plans change, you adjust. You don't collapse. You don't feel betrayed by reality. This flexibility is not indifference. It's adaptability. Expectation makes life rigid. Without it, life bends. And you bend with it. This stage often brings a quiet trust. Not trust that things will work out. Trust that you can respond to whatever happens. That trust doesn't rely on outcomes. It relies on presence. You trust yourself to meet the moment. That's enough. Season 2 is about removing the subtle structures that once organized your life. Reference, direction, proof, roles, expectation. Each of these served a purpose. They helped you navigate uncertainty, but they also kept you negotiating with life instead of living it. Living without expectation doesn't make life easier. It makes it truer. You're no longer waiting for life to become something else. You're not holding the present hostage to a future that hasn't arrived. You're here, meeting what's here. That meeting is intimate, direct, unfinished. If you've noticed yourself less disappointed lately, not because things improved, but because you stopped demanding they do, if you felt more open and less defended, if life feels less like a contract and more like an encounter, you're living without expectation. And that doesn't make you empty. It makes you available. Available to love without conditions, to work without guarantees, to rest without justification. You're no longer bracing against outcomes. You're participating. And participation doesn't require expectation. It requires presence. So if this reflection resonated, and you feel it meeting something real in you, liking the video helps it reach others who may be learning how to live without the weight of expectation. And if someone came to mind while listening, sharing it may help them feel less alone in that quiet shift. You're welcome to subscribe if you'd like to continue through this season. Not to secure anything, but to stay present as life keeps unfolding, unfinished,